Thank you for joining our session on navigating the Wild West of environmental, social, and governance reporting. My name is Elena Avesani. I lead global sustainability at Oracle, reporting to the Chief Sustainability Officer, John Chorley. I have been working on environmental and social policies and programs since 2008, when the team was first formed at Oracle. And our remit is twofold. We oversee all environmental sustainability programs and initiatives that we run within Oracle. And we work closely with product development to create solutions that help our customers to run their own businesses in a sustainable manner. Today with me is Remy Boss, who is responsible for product strategy and customer and partner engagement in my team. We are going to discuss what we see happening in the space, what it means for organizations and for the finance function, and how technology can support organizations in responding to a fast evolving regulatory environment. Remy, more and more organizations are looking at delivering value not only to shareholders, but to the larger community of stakeholders they impact. You're spending most of the time sitting with our customers to help them deliver value. And also you're keeping an eye on how the regulatory landscape is changing. Can you tell us something about what you're seeing and what customers are sharing with us?
Yes, of course. Thanks, Elena. Corporate sustainability is currently moving at breakneck speed, and rightfully so. As we begin to understand the impact corporations have on our ecosystem, governments, consumers, and shareholders are demanding business to take responsibility and to be part of the solution that works towards a more sustainable world and more inclusive societies. So, on a global stage, we've been talking about societal and environmental issues since the 70s. And now, many years later, as the climate crisis is reaching its peak and with social issues abound, the time has come to act. And the urgency of the matter is, I believe, the cause for the acceleration we see around us. Now, organizations experience this urgency through pressures exerted on them by their stakeholders. So, for example, shareholders can demand management to put in place corporate policies to address climate change and to prevent unethical practices. And environmentally, socially conscious consumers will, for example, gladly pay more for a product if that product provides the same experience but is produced more sustainably. And of course, we have governments and policymakers who are asking for accountability and demand that these organizations report information that is relevant, reliable, and also comparable.
Yes, and I would add that the pandemic and the energy crisis are also contributing to this acceleration. Investors and regulators have witnessed the fragility of supply chains and the inability to quickly respond to the challenge. And they considered both events a stress test for what the climate crisis might bring. What does it mean for organizations, specifically for the finance role?
Yeah, as with corporate strategy, it's the executives who must set the tone at the top, but they also need to empower the business to make this imperative a reality. So, a lot of organizations have until now treated sustainability activities as something part of public relations or through philanthropy and volunteering efforts. And a lot of them have treated their accountability merely as part of regulatory compliance, basically. Now, framing sustainability in such ways not only completely misses the point, it also might hurt their long term prospects, as these companies will not be able to capitalize on certain opportunities. I mean, there is ample evidence that sustainable practices can lead to top line growth and cost reductions, and increased productivity, things like better financing and investment decisions, and even less regulatory and legal interventions. So, to merely treat this as a tick of the box exercise would actually be a grave misjudgment. And luckily, a lot of stakeholders seem to agree. Now, as the range of benefits is so extensive, organizations will need to embed sustainability thinking into their very core and anchor this into every decision. Because, like I love to say, every corporate action has financial implications, right? And every choice that has led to that action either directly or indirectly involved environmental and social matters. So we have to start realizing that sustainability actually is ingrained in the very drivers of our business and, in the end, our financials. And so we should treat it with the attention it deserves. And that means sustainability needs a seat at the table. And we need to include it in the information that supports corporate decision making. Now, the way we typically bring such information to the board is through management reporting. And so a lot of executives are looking towards the very department that is responsible for collating such reports. In this case, often finance. So I guess who better to look after the data than a team of professionals who've mastered collecting and planning and reporting?
Indeed. We know from our own experience and from our conversation with customers that the greatest challenge is gathering and organizing data. Standards and regulations are evolving. We are seeing more regulations coming in terms of mandatory reporting. Companies have to assure the information that they're publishing on sustainability. We know at Oracle we have a rigorous process to manage our own environmental and social and governance programs, and we are working closely with our finance team to align on what's coming. What are the emerging standards and what should customers expect?
Yeah, currently we are seeing a couple of new regulations coming into effect. The CSRD, the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, the EU taxonomy, and of course, more recently, the SEC guidelines. But in actual fact, we have been developing these guidelines and standards for much longer. Two of the most well-known standards in the ESG reporting space are, for example, the Greenhouse Gas Protocol and the Global Reporting Initiative. And they've been around since 1997, and they were co-developed by business and not by government. So since the millennium, however, the number of reporting standards and frameworks has increased dramatically. And some notable additions are, for example, the Carbon Disclosure Project, the CDP, in 2000, the Sustainability Accounting Standards Board, or the SASB, in 2011, and maybe most well known, the Task Force on Climate Related Financial Disclosures, or the TCFD, in 2015. Now, up until now, the proliferation of these reporting provisions have not really made it much easier for our executives. And most of our larger customers report to multiple standards and frameworks. And
Like
this means that they need to collate and present the data in various ways, only adding to the complexity. Hence, it shouldn't be a surprise that there is a growing demand for a new expertise within finance, one in which financials are well versed in everything ESG. And last, I would like to add that luckily we are seeing a push for consolidation of these standards, right? The recently incorporated ISSB, or International Sustainability Standards Board, is tasked with delivering a global baseline of sustainability disclosures, which will hopefully normalize our reporting somewhat. And it is crucial for financial departments to start building this expertise, right? And to get ready for all of this incoming legislation.
Yes, we all suffer from survey fatigue as sustainability professionals. So to help the finance function and sustainability teams, digital transformation is key because it can help making it easier to capture and analyze data in finance, supply chain, HR functions. Given that you spend so much time with customers, what are the most interesting use cases you have discussed with our customers so far?
Well, sustainability is far reaching and it impacts all areas of business. And like I mentioned earlier, we can record some of that impact either directly or indirectly through monitoring of our business drivers. And this means that technology can help us to measure the effect of our decisions and even help highlight areas for change. And I can maybe highlight this by giving a few examples. So, the production and distribution of goods, right, in the supply chain often accounts for the majority of the social and environmental costs. Now, from an environmental perspective, say the use of high emissions, non renewable materials, and modes of transport, these are especially impactful. And on the social side, we mainly have to take into account questionable practices or possible violation of human rights. Technology here can help you to control these impacts and risks. And, and to illustrate, with the right supply chain applications, you can, for example, plan and support circular processes and monitor production patterns and even ensure traceability and sustainable best practices. And then maybe in finance, we actually have many tools that enable us to integrate sustainability in management. Take, for example, procurement, where we can vet our suppliers on criteria and requirements that are in line with our environmental and social policies. Or risk management, where we develop policies and procedures and design appropriate responses to threats. And maybe lastly, but definitely not least, planning and reporting, where we can break our strategic goals, so the long-term goals, up in short-term plans and benefit from innovations such as integrated reporting, predictive forecasting, and scenario modeling, which in a way in turn will support activities like carbon accounting and, like I already mentioned, investment decisions and even external assurance. So I don't think it's an exaggeration to say there's sustainability potential hidden away in our enterprise data. And I also don't think many will disagree. But one of the most difficult steps is actually locating and sourcing that data so that it can be used appropriately and by the right applications. Uh, Again, here I will make the case for technology, right? So having the right tools to collect and prepare and transform data and bring it, say, in a central repository before you plan and review and report, it can be an absolute game changer when it comes to sustainability management.
Yes, and that is really the key mission that we have as an organization, helping our customers, accelerating change through our technology. But we also recognize that we have our own responsibilities as an organization, embedding sustainability across our enterprise. Because the solutions we offer sit on top of our cloud infrastructure. So our key priority is designing an infrastructure that minimizes our environmental impact, maximize resource utilization, and is as efficient as possible from an energy perspective. We always say the most sustainable energy is the one that you don't use. So we have a goal of powering our operations with 100% renewable energy by 2025 and achieve net zero by 2050. And from a product perspective, we are focusing on simplifying, connecting, and automating the data gathering process. So what are the examples of solutions that we are discussing and we are implementing with our customers right now that you find more exciting?
Yeah, well, one example where I think we really excelled in helping our customers overcome challenge. Together with a team of solution engineers and Oracle consulting practice, we've developed an ESG reporting solution within our EPM, Oracle Cloud EPM. And this means our customers can integrate and align ESG reporting with their financial processes and create these strategic long-range plans across the business. And on top of that, I think the flexibility of EPM allows them to report to any framework or standard of their choice. And they've embedded the controls that support audit for reasonable assurance, for example. But maybe even more impressive, this solution can take raw data from any source and is deployable in under 8 weeks. We're also developing new capabilities in Fusion Analytics, but maybe I will leave that for another time.
Yes. Thanks, Remy, and thanks for joining the session today. And have a great Oracle CloudWorld experience.
Thank you.